Education Town Hall. We'll be starting right here, just a couple minutes after 6. I just want to walk everyone through the protocol this evening so you know what's going on. We have 11 prepared questions that were submitted to the board ahead of time. So we're going to go question by question. Each board member has been assigned an answer. So I'm going to start with that designated board member and then ask a second board member if they'd like to add anything to that answer. We're going to try and keep time somewhat under 5 minutes per answer, but we can't always hold them to that, but they'll do their best, I've been assured. So without any further ado, why don't we just start really quickly with introductions for our board, just in case no one knows their names. So Dr. Jorgensen will start with you.
Good evening, Director Jorgensen, Secretary of the Board, second term serving, and thanks for coming out tonight.
Hi, Julie Ott. I am serving now in my going on 7th term. Sorry, 7th term. That's a really long time. You only seventh year. 7th year. Sorry, I guess it's all going to my head.
13 years. That's a long time. Hi, everybody. I'm Jill Hafley, and I'm a former teacher with D11, and this is my school. And so it's awesome to be here and to be able to sit, and it feels like home.
Yeah, welcome back, Jill. Parth Milpakam, current board president. I'm starting my 2nd term, so that's my 5th year. Looking forward to the discussion this evening.
Thomas Carey, recently elected, and thank you all so much for being here, and thanks to everyone who's watching and tuning in online.
Good evening, Laura Nelson. I serve as the treasurer on the school board, and I was elected 2 years ago.
Sandra Bankus, former educator, and this is my finishing up our 2nd year. I came on with Lauren, and I'm happy to see all of you here and all of you so interested in the direction in which District 11 is moving. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to start off by giving a brief introduction from the board perspective, and then we can jump into the questions. So on behalf of the board, thank you all for participating in this town hall meeting, all of you that are here in person and also all of you that are watching online. The board has clearly indicated over time that we value all stakeholder input that coming from our staff, our parents, our students, and community members. Our goal is always to listen respectfully to what comes from our community and receive feedback as it helps us make informed decision. And the other part of this is also a lot of times in this day and age there are rumors circulating, conjectures, and sometimes even wrong information that are out there on social media. This provides an opportunity for our community to directly hear from board members accurate factual information, and this town hall is one step in that journey. Just providing an overall context before we jump to the questions. 2 years back, the board made a commitment through our board priorities that our focus areas were going to be essentially 3 areas: student success, staff investment, and parent and community engagement. The board has slightly changed after the recent November elections. We welcomed Directors Carey and Hafley. Both of them are seated on either side of me at this time, and welcome to the board. Even with the addition of 2 new board members, our priorities have essentially remained the same. Students come first in District 11. Everything we do is student focused. The decisions that we make at the board level and the resources that we allocate directly towards the classrooms are all student focused. Students and staff come side by side to me and to the board as we take care of our students. It's a symbiotic relationship. Our staff are also going to be taken care of. And one last perspective I want to add out here. 2 or 3 years back, we were looking at data that showed a steady decline in student enrollment in our school district. Especially over the pandemic, we lost a considerable number of students. We were seriously talking at that time about closing some of our schools. our academic achievement were stagnant. 65 to 70% of our students were not grade level proficient. That trend was noticeable even before the pandemic. The pandemic just worsened the situation, which all put a serious strain on our budget, our resources, and our staff. Several of you are in the audience today. Thank you for joining us today. We were essentially at crossroads at the time. We can go down the path that we were going at that point in time, and essentially we would have to downsize and become irrelevant in the Colorado Springs landscape with the number of students that we were steadily losing, or at the time put a stake in the ground and say that we are going to make some transformational change along the way. And that required some creative out-of-the-box thinking, which happened with with the hiring of Superintendent Gall. And that's what we are all about, the partnerships that we have with the outside community, creative out-of-the-box thinking, not accepting status quo, leaning in and supporting our students, all to improve student academic outcomes in our schools. Student success is going to be prioritized, and that will continue to be our focus. But I also want you to realize that we are pro-staff, evidenced by what we have done over the last 2 years. Even with our staff compensation and the benefits, we have provided historic compensation for our staff, as much as we can do with our tight budget constraints. We listen. We, each one of our board members that are seated up here are in this because we value what you bring to the table. We will listen to your feedback, and we will use your input to help guide our work. Today, as we go through this, you will hear a lot of the exciting new opportunities that are there for our students, and where we are moving as a school district. So collectively, my request to you is, as we proceed in this direction, the board, the superintendent, the administration cannot do this job all by ourselves. We need your support. And that's all of you here in this room, out there in the community. It's staff, parents, students, all collectively leaning together in this journey and helping our students thrive and achieve success as we go along in this journey. So excellence is our destination. That's where we are going to plant our flag and stake. Everything we are going to do is going to be focused on changing District 11 or shaping District 11 to the premier school district of choice for excellence in education in El Paso County. Thank you.
Thank you. For those of you who have joined since we started, I just want to go over a few rules of procedure tonight. So as a reminder, the board will be responding to questions that were submitted ahead of time. One board member has prepared a response, and then I'll ask a second board member to chime in. We could just ask for the audience to keep any questions for the last 30 minutes where you'll have time to mix and mingle with the board members rather than Q&As during the session, okay? Also, for those of you who submitted questions this evening, we have, just so you're aware, categorized them. So if the first question is about the innovation zone, so hopefully you will hear a piece of your question worked into this huge paragraph that I'm about to read. So you recognize that all of your questions were considered. We just put them all kind of in that category so that they could be addressed holistically here. If you do not hear your question that you submitted answered tonight, we've also pulled some questions for the superintendent and President Malpacum to address individually, because they sought more individual response than town hall response, but everything will be addressed, so be rest assured. It's allegedly on, but I feel like I'm shouting loudly enough that I'm just pretending through it. I don't think it's on. It's not on. The little switch. It's on now. It's on now. There we go. Okay. All right. Question number 1 for Dr. Benkes is about the innovation zone. Could you please expand on the process for approving this school? Specifically, in the Innovation Zone statute created under the Innovation Schools Act of 2008 in section 22-32.5-104, it states that in creating an innovation plan or a plan to create an innovation school zone, the local school board shall ensure that each public school that would be affected by the plan has the opportunity to participate in the creation of the plan. End quote. As a school board, what is your perception of the impact that this innovation school will have on other public high schools in the district? That's question one. Will the CSST school be located at one of the other high schools? Question two. And the final question, what is your plan as a school board for allowing impacted schools to participate in the creation of this innovation plan?
When I took a look at this question, I wanted to make sure that we all understand that this is an opportunity for students in District 11. The CSST stands for Colorado Springs School of Technology, something that's not currently offered to this level, not only in District 11, but any of the other surrounding school districts. I'll get to the specific questions, but I first of all want to lay some groundwork in that this board, this district, is focused on students and their achievement and what it is that we provide so that when they finish our schooling, whether it's through 12th grade or whether it's they take advantage of the extra 2 years of tuition free at a college, that they are prepared to go out with a plan, with a goal to enter the workforce so that they can become independent citizens working within our community, holding our kids in our community for opportunities that are available. And this innovation plan gives us the pathway to fill the gap between what we provide as an educational system and what's required when they are out in the workforce applying for those jobs. Workforce ready is a phrase that we hear a lot, and yet at the same time, what does that actually mean? Sometimes we've heard anecdotal information from companies who are hiring that say that first year out of college students are not ready for the workforce. They don't come with the experience and they may have the knowledge, but not the experience and the expectations fulfilled for what's required to be a productive member of a team within a corporation, within a small business. This innovation zone provides an opportunity for our kids to learn from experts in their field so that when we are able to provide a niche educational opportunity, it's not for everyone. It is an opportunity to choose, and we are about choice. And as you have heard, we were the school of choice. We have stemmed the flow of the exit of students to other districts. In fact, we were the only school district in the region who was able to increase their enrollment. So with that said, when we take a look at the innovation zone and the opportunities when we were approached with business, academics, and then of course our own enthusiasm for offering more opportunity for our kids, that was where the conversation started. And as that conversation started to say, how is it that we can educate our kids and keep them here in Colorado Springs, productive, happy, contributing? What is it that's needed? And this is one of those things. This is one of those opportunities. In District 11, if you look at our pathway schools, offer a variety to meet needs of different interests, different academic styles, different goal setting. So, having said that, when the people who are proposing this came together with our school district, it's like, and how is it that we could make this happen? And Innovation Zone seems to be the way in which it settled. The questions seem to revolve around how is it that we have gone this far and not collaborated with other entities, other schools, the student and their students and their parents. And in my view, for change, we have come up with a framework of an idea and put that framework together, send it on up to CDE for approval, and then we'll be able to come back, and then we'll be able to do the process that we're all familiar with collaboration. And I appreciate the fact that we didn't put the cart in front of the horse. We didn't come to our schools and say, this is what we're thinking. Let's take your time. Let's ask you to do your best thinking. Let's put a plan together, and then let's send it up to CDE and see if it's going to be worth our while. Instead, took the approach that said, we're going to save all of that effort until we get approval for this idea. And then we'll come back and we'll collaborate and we'll do what's best, given the information through that collaboration process, to make a determination. It seems like in this question there was a lot of concern about whether this program would be housed in a school. You have to keep in mind that we have not closed any schools. You have to keep in mind that all of our schools are staffed, are budgeted to be staffed, fully staffed, regardless of their current enrollment or their projected enrollment for next year. Those are huge. To me, as a former teacher and a former administrator, that is just wonderful that a district cares so much about their folks. They're willing to look at other parts of the budget to say, we are going to protect what happens in our classroom. So the next step is, should we get approval from the state, goes into our planning for next year, what kind of questions need to be answered? And one of those that keeps coming up in the questions that were submitted is this going to be located on a campus within our own district? Having worked in District 11 before, I have been part of the administrative team that was a school, not within a school, but a school with a school. Some of you may have been in the district long enough to remember Emerson Edison. And at that time, it was an opportunity for Edison to come in, and we were to make that transition. So we ran 2 schools on one physical location. It can be done, it should be done, and there are ways to do that. In this plan, we will share resources with the CSST, counseling, athletics, I'm assuming clubs as well. That conversation about where this school will be located has not happened because we haven't gotten approval that this is something that is actually viable. We're not going to waste people's time to come up with ideas and solutions if we can't get this thing moving forward. And I hope you feel comfortable with that. And this board, I think we've demonstrated our willingness to talk, to collaborate, to take in information, and to be able to come to some sort of compromise or some sort of joint vision so that we move forward in engagement and increase our enrollment. Someone asked in the questions, what's the impact that this will have on other schools? And the impact is going to be, we're keeping our students, they're still here. The added benefit is we may attract students from other districts as well to offer a program that's not available anywhere else. Nowhere else do we have an opportunity for our high school kids to join in an educational coordinated program that puts them in front of experienced and expertise in a field, along with the resources offered through this partnership. I've said this before from the board dais that I had the opportunity to go up to UCCS and see just a couple of their labs. One was the soundproof room for media programming, and the other one was observing the clean room for creating chips. Don't ask me anything more than that because I don't know. We as a school district cannot provide that level of sophistication for our students to be able to have the hands-on learning necessary for our kids to be able to finish their programs, either through getting their 4-year degree or by getting a certification if they don't want to do the whole 4 years. What a wonderful opportunity. If you had a chance to read the reporter's article in the Gazette after we had this discussion at the school board meeting, take a look at that and say, wow, this is quite the opportunity. These folks didn't go to a different school district. These folks came to District 11. That speaks highly of what it is that District 11 has to offer, and it speaks highly to our commitment to giving our kids the best opportunity available for this niche. This is a STEM program. It's not going to be widely attended by hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of kids, but look at the other programs that we have. And I go back to the arts program because I think we've done a really good job with supporting our arts. It's not for everyone either. But what we want to do is to try and provide variety, a compendium of opportunities for our kids who are so focused and so interested that they get top level, high level experience in education and be recognized for it through either a degree or through a certification. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Director Benkus. Could I ask a board member to give a 2-minute addition to that? Or are we feeling like that was a full answer? Oh, I did a good job. Oh, you did do an excellent job.
That was a comprehensive answer, so I don't know if I have anything more to add to that. So
Okay.
maybe some other board members do.
We'll head on to question number 2. This one is about the block schedule and is for Director Jorgensen. How is the district monitoring the implementation of the block schedule in high schools, specifically the impact on students? Are you soliciting feedback from students, staff, and parents, and will that feedback play a role when assessing scheduling decisions in the future? Do you have any plans to reassess or change the block schedule in the future?
Thank you. Yeah, block schedule was new this year. We saw that a couple campuses were already operating on a block schedule, and we thought, well, there's a number of reasons that we thought to go consistently to a block schedule across the district. One, it was just that, you know, as a former middle school teacher, having 57-minute periods, I could, as a science teacher, it was hard to plan multi-day labs with you know, a less than 1 hour class period. And so, you know, seeing the availability of the extended block schedule at a couple of our campuses that had already implemented it, just to be their ability to have a depth of time with their students, the way they could differentiate instruction, that they could go in depth, they could, you know, break out between just lecturing and into projects or, you know, student-based learning, was all, you know, really easy sells for us to consider it across the district. And so while we had some concerns with, you know, some staff and teachers trying to, and buildings just going, hey, what's this going to look like? We chose to move forward, and we are monitoring that through the school year here. But what we're seeing is just having consistency across our schedule. So there's a number of other benefits for the block schedule. Just having the consistency of knowing, you know, here's our blocks. Buildings have the ability to differentiate what they do on one day of that week, and then having the ability to be innovative with that time. If we have, you know, a certain language that we don't have available at Mitchell, but it's at Coronado or Doherty, we have the ability for those students to go get that language or that special class, whether it's, and it could be a CTE program that specializes in a lab. You know, the drafting lab that we have at Doherty is remarkable. We can't afford to have that at every building, but we have, you know, students who, if they want to look into architecture or drafting, they can get it on that block schedule and they can go get that class at Doherty, or a you know, the airplane mechanics at Mitchell. You know, we have the ability to offer those specialized CTE programs across the district because of the block schedule. The engagement piece, you know, one of the things that I heard with the block schedule of going, these kids are going to be bored for that long. And as a teacher, I said, well, if I can, you know, make sure I'm being engaging and not, you know, just giving a monologue of, you know, the parts of the cell for an hour and a half, we can make this fun, right? And so, and that's nothing to, you know, saying, hey, don't dog it till you try it. But we knew that we would have to, you know, offer some supports for teachers who said, man, I've got everything figured out for this length of time. So how are we offering some help to them? So we've offered some PDs this year to help support in that space of how do we build depth in lessons? How do you want to differentiate? How do you want to maybe collaborate or do some cross-curricular pieces? So we're working on those kind of pieces as we are slowly rolling into the block schedule. And making it more of a consistent piece. And then with that, just monitoring it, making sure that we're monitoring student outcomes, how are academics going, how is you know, the progress of learning going for our students in high schools with this schedule. A couple other notes I had here. I think that's about it. Yeah, and you know, ultimately, it's just to offer students a wider variety. You know, if you only have what's available at your high school, we're not living up to our motto, which is finding excellence through experience. And so, if I want to be an airline mechanic, I wanted to be a pilot since I was a kid, and I'm not that right now. But if I had heard that there's an airline mechanic school at Mitchell, and I could have had the block schedule to go do it because Doherty didn't have it, which is where I went, I'd be all over that. So just, you know, the advertising, the marketing of what we can offer to students with this block schedule, I think is something that we could probably still be improving on as far as, you know, maybe a concern that I would see. But other than that, you know, we're monitoring things and making sure that we're going to make it effective moving forward. And if the sky falls and the data comes back awful, then we'll reevaluate whether we're going to move forward with that consistently across all of our D11 schools. So.
Thank you, Director Jorgensen. Could I ask another board member to speak to the process of soliciting feedback on the block schedule, or any plans you've thought about in that way for how to engage feedback from the community as we go through this transition?
We value feedback, and for me, visiting schools and talking with students and teachers sometimes provides that direct feedback. And I recall being at a DAC meeting, which is the District Accountability Committee meetings, a couple of months back. And there is a student that regularly attends that DAC meeting, and she's an Odyssey Echo student. And she approached me and she said that at Odyssey Echo, she cannot take Mandarin Chinese. And this provides her an opportunity to go to Palmer High School. By the way, there are a lot of Palmer High School students in the audience. Welcome. Good participation. Palmer, but we can always count on Palmer Student Council to show up at our town hall meetings and our board meetings too. So basically, she was saying how this opportunity would not have been for her, would not have been available for her if not for the block schedule. And along the way, we will also look at the attendance data, and also if there is going to be increased participation from one school in a program in another school. And all of it ties to student achievement, if this is going to improve student achievement in all our high schools. Thank you.
Thank you. That sets us up very nicely to roll into question number 3, which is back at you, Director Malpaca. This one is about post-secondary opportunities. What is your stance on the role of the district in providing post-secondary preparation for our students? What post-secondary opportunities are you committed to providing to our students? Please consider concurrent enrollment, career and technical education, college scholarships, career and college counseling, internships, and work-based learning experiences.
Yeah, thank you. Great question. All of it, we want to provide all these various options. I'm a parent with a student in high school, and so it directly impacts my child. Traditionally, when we look at the public education, we look at it from the K through 12 perspective. What we are changing in School District 11 going forth is going to be pre-K through 14. It's going to start early on, even before kindergarten, with preschool. So right now, with the preschool opportunities that our students have, we opened new preschool classrooms, and we have the highest number of openings available for preschool compared to any other school district in El Paso County. So we are addressing that end with the younger kids wanting to lean in on early education and literacy. And then on the other end, which was this question, which was the post-secondary opportunity, we are doing everything possible. There are a plethora of options for our high school students, so many of you in the audience. Doherty High School recently, a couple of months back, was the first high school that opened a Future Ready Center with a dedicated college and career counselor. And that program, that Future Centers are going to come in other high schools too in the very near future. So student gets, through that Future Center, students get access to support and resources. They can go and access supports and resources for scholarship programs for their college applications, for even their SAT preparation and workforce opportunities, internships. That's what that Future Ready Center is for. So, and then when you look at opportunities that our students have in the classroom, high school students, through concurrent enrollment, students can access college coursework and receive college credit right now at Pikes Peak State College, CSU Pueblo, and Western Colorado University. Recently, UCCS, in collaboration with District 11, has offered to match the community college rates for concurrent enrollment. So that opens that opportunity for our students to attend UCCS. Currently, I've got some data pulled out. 1,200 of our high school students have earned college credit. Current high school students have earned college credit through concurrent enrollment and CTE pathways. current students have earned 12,000 college credits, 12,000 college credits, and another potential 5,000 credits this year. This is a potential savings for parents of about $8 million. So students from our school district, when they graduate with a high school degree, they have 40, 50, 60 college credits towards their associate's or bachelor's degree. Students, all of you should be taking advantage of this opportunity so that it would be easier on your parents too. They would have to spend lesser on your college education as you go forth. District 11 has more AP classes and CTE pathways than D20, D49, D2, or D12. We are constantly looking to expand these opportunities with over 60 CTE and work-based learning programs in culinary, hospitality, construction, engineering, health sciences, IT, cybersecurity, and I can go on and go on out there. So as far as work-based learning, several paid internships opportunities are available as well, mentoring opportunities by industry experts, and job shadowing opportunities. So if you need help with any of those, contact our district and we would be able to direct you to the appropriate person. And then post-secondary opportunities, I'll finish with this. There are 3 opportunities out there that students should consider. One is the Promise Scholarship, which initially started as a Mitchell Promise Scholarship, has now expanded to include all high school students out there. And this provides free access to Pikes Peak State College for 2 years for our students. And then the Ascent program. The Ascent program provides free 1-year college tuition after high school graduation at UCCS, Pikes Peak State College, and CSU Pueblo. Right now, about 30 of our graduating seniors have expressed intent in going through that Ascent program. That has exponentially increased in just a year or so. So if you are looking for that additional free year of college education and you do not have full college scholarship with another university, you certainly need to take advantage of that Ascent program. And the last thing I'll say is the TREP program, TREP, that's the Teacher Pathway Program. It provides free two years of free tuition for students who want to become teachers and counselors. Just before this session started, we were talking to a student, Director Hafley and I were talking to a student, Ms. Jones, who's a senior student here at Coronado, who's already enrolled in that TREP program. And we look forward to her completing that program and then hopefully coming back to District 11 as a future teacher. So this is our Grow Our Own Teacher program that we have. One other thing that I would add is that D11 students who are taking Spanish, French, or German as a foreign language program, they can apply to study abroad program for 2 weeks in the summer. Last year, several of our students took advantage of that opportunity, got to spend 2 weeks in the summer in Spain and France in a university, not only learning to speak the language out there, but also immersing themselves in the culture. And the feedback that we received from them was life-changing. So I will end by saying many of the questions tonight we are converging on the work we have been investing within D11. With what Director Jurgensen talked about, the common schedule, we can expand options for our students to attend CTE classes. With future centers, we'd be better connected for college and career options. And we have internships, work-based learning opportunities, and career counselors available to guide you in that. So we are committed to investing in our students and ensuring that while our students spend time in our high schools, they find excellence through experience.
Thank you. Dr. Benkes, would you like to expand?
I would. I remember early on sitting on the board that when we talked about graduation rates, we compared ourselves to other districts, we compared our high schools to one another. But the thing that I remember the most is our superintendent pointed out that when he looked at the numbers, there were about 600 kids that left our schools And I don't know if that's a current number, but it's been in the last 2 years. 600 kids who didn't have a post-high school plan. And you listen to all the programs that we are offering. We are striving to make sure that every child who leaves us has an opportunity to plug in to a pathway. Doesn't have to be college. It can be the military. It can be one of these certification programs. But it's a direction. And that's what we're concerned about in offering as many programs as we have available to us. At the Doherty open house for 8th graders, incoming 8th graders, I went over to the English language desk, and I don't know about you, but when I was in school and when my kids were in school, you either went to regular English or you went to AP. If you looked at the same graphic that I did, there were like 4 different pathways. I don't know another word besides pathways. There were four different programs within the English language department, and under those you had choices. Our kids are varied. They have experience and they have exposure to so many different outside forces that in our effort to do things well and to do them with depth and experience and with an intelligent approach, our kids have the best opportunity to not leave school and say, I don't know what I'm going to do. They can leave school and they can say, I might try this because I tried this in high school and I liked it. Or I tried this in high school and I didn't like it. I think I'm going to try this other thing. And we give them those opportunities, and that's why we're all here. It's why we give the time that we give, so that we make sure our kids get the best opportunities educationally and social emotionally that we can give them in cooperation with our parents. That's why you send your children to our schools, and that's our commitment.
Thank you very much. Question number 4 is regarding student behavior, and Director Hafley will take the first punch at this. What is the district strategy for addressing student behaviors throughout the district? What supports are you or can you provide to teachers with habitually disruptive students whose behaviors interrupt instructional time for their peers?
I've seen this. Being a teacher in the district, the stories I could tell you of just specific behaviors that kids have when they're away from home and they're away from their parents, and the things that they do in class. Some of them are, they think are cute, and they have an audience of their peers within the classroom, and then of course they have their teacher, and the whole idea is to I'll just say it, the whole idea is to maybe make the teacher look ridiculous in front of their kids. Kids, we don't need your help in that. We do a pretty good job of making ourselves look pretty ridiculous anyway. But we as a board, we take this seriously. You're not going to get a lot of fluff from us when it comes to behavior in the classroom. It's a matter of safety, and it's a matter of taking away from instructional time. This particular year, I'm hearing from teachers around the district, either via email or in person, that kids are hitting teachers and their classmates. They're kicking them, they're biting them, they're spitting at them. And when their peers, when kids come and talk to me about, hey, look, this is what's going on in my classroom, I don't feel safe in my classroom, I can't learn when the kid sitting next to me or the kid sitting across the room is acting out in a way that's taking away from instructional time. And so because I have that classroom experience, I can pass that on to my colleagues sitting up here with me. Teachers, I know what you're talking about. I've seen it. It's not pretty. It's not a here and there kind of a situation. It's pervasive. It's everywhere. And it's not just in District 11. It's everywhere. But we're not talking about everywhere. We're talking about D11. So what this board is doing and what we are currently working on is to improve the behavior policy. Understand that we don't work in a vacuum. And that means we need the help of parents, to get involved in their kids' education, to hold their kids to a behavior standard. And that's very important because you're going to get that support from us outside of the home. And we're looking for that outside of the school. Students and student success is why we're here. We believe in providing the kids in D11 every opportunity for success, and that includes providing adequate guidelines for teachers and a clear set of rules for students to follow. We're looking at current policy and how it can be streamlined so that it's consistent and easy to follow for administration. And that's important. This isn't anything new, but it is increasing, and that's a problem. So we've been hearing from teachers since the pandemic that there's been an increase in disruptive students. I think we can all agree that remote learning was one without a lot of structure. And now kids are coming back into the schools, adjusting to more of the structure and a defined set of rules. And so there are distractions that kids got used to during remote learning that we seek to lessen in order to improve academic achievement. So teachers and principals and school counselors, community liaisons, special educators, these people work to support kids and their families when behaviors surface that need additional intervention beyond Tier 1 supports. We also have an Office of Student Engagement that supports schools, students, and families at student point of need. Kids that are habitually disruptive are referred through the school's multi-tiered systems of support. This is also known as MTSS. It's a prevention-based tiered framework of support to built to improve the outcomes of all students through a whole child lens. And within these collaborative meetings, individual needs can be met and identified. And also supports are aligned and plans are put into place to protect a productive academic classroom learning environment. So with those supports in place in the current system, there's also inconsistency from school to school. And this is something that we're going to be addressing in the coming months. An issue that might result in being expelled at one school maybe isn't in the same level of infraction at another school, and we want to make things consistent. So, as I said, we prioritize student learning. We need productive learning environments in our classroom. And this is an area, again, where we need help and support from parents. We need you to partner with us to back up school rules at home. So, what are the successes for today and in the future? Well, we want to develop in every student in the district a positive attitude towards self-discipline. We need kids to be in school. Attendance is something that we're beginning to tackle as well. Y'all need to be in class and you need to be in school on time. That's important. I can tell you when I would have kids late to class and I would ask them if they had a job, because I was a high school teacher, and frequently they would nod yes, and they were very proud of that fact. And when I would ask them, how many times are you late to your job? And they'd look at me like, well, what does that have to do with me being late to class? Like, you're a history teacher. Why are you teaching me math? You're a history teacher. Why are you teaching me English? Because it's not just one thing, okay? We are the whole child here. And so if you can be on time to work, because if you're not on time to work, what are they going to do to you? They're going to fire you. Well, they're not going to fire me in a public school, is what I would hear. No, they can't fire you in a public school. I can do other things, and then I would leave it at that. And that was enough to just get their mind going just a little bit so that maybe the next time they wouldn't be late. Would it happen? Sure, but not as often as they had been earlier. So relationship is a big deal as well. Teachers with their kids' relationship is massively huge. But you also can't rely on that relationship when it comes to student behavior, when it comes to consequences that need to happen. Okay, nobody likes that. And nobody likes being the one to always say, no, you can't do that. No, you can't do that. No, you can't do that. Teachers don't like being that person. And you students that are in the building today going through this with us, please understand your teachers do not like being the person that says, no, no, no. We do not like that. We aren't here to hold you back. We're here to help you succeed. And in order to do that, you need a learning environment that is productive and positive, and that's what this board seeks to do. I could go on and on reading all these little things to you. I'm not going to do that, but what I can say is that please know, staff, you guys that are watching online, people that are here at Coronado, this isn't something that we're just talking about. There's going to be action behind these words.
Thank you. I will do a shout out for you and say that on the board meeting this Wednesday evening, we'll be doing a spotlight on our secondary MTSS programming. We did one for the elementary school back in January, so if you have more questions about exactly what that looks like, please tune in to the beginning of the board meeting on Wednesday, and you'll hear directly from student engagement. So we're going to move on to the next question. The topic is teacher retention, and Director Carey will be speaking to this one. What steps are you taking to address teacher retention? Please consider strategies for minimizing teacher burnout and stress, as well as any incentive programs you might be working on to retain high-quality teachers and veteran teachers.
Thank you for the question. I first want to just put it into a little context. You know, the problem of teacher recruitment and teacher retention is not a problem that's specific to District 11. This is something that we see just nationally in public school systems. We see it all over the country. We see it in the state of Colorado. We see it in other schools in the county. The problem of recruiting and retaining high quality teaching talent is really a tough nut to crack in public education right now. But I'm pretty sure I'm right in remembering this. We have, on our board of 7, we have 4 board directors who are either current or former educators. And so this is a problem we're really passionate about solving. And the reason is that our number one priority as a board is academic outcomes for students. That's why we're all here. That's why parents and families send their students to D11. And one of the things our superintendent is fond of saying, and he works in a way to say this every single board meeting and work session, is that the number one driver of student success is access to high quality education. Yeah, we've all heard him say it a million times. And that means high quality teachers in our classrooms teaching our kids. And so we believe that, you know, teachers are fundamental. They're key to student success. And as a result, this board is committed to making sure that we spend our resources as close to the classroom as we possibly can. That's something our treasurer, Director Nelson, is very fond of saying, that that's kind of a priority for us. So I hope I'm getting the numbers right. This was from a session back on Valentine's Day. You know, we spend of our budget as a district, we spend around 84% on salaries and benefits. And of that, I think around 60% or thereabouts goes to instructional staff. So one of the ways that we're committed to recruiting and retaining teachers is just making sure they're very well compensated. I think I have the number right here. So last year, you know, for teachers specifically, we gave a 23.4% raise in terms of salary and benefits, combination of bonuses, combination of salary increases, to the tune of around $37 million in total. So that is, you know, we have, I believe, the highest starting salary of any district in El Paso County, to the point where other districts are kind of having to copy us, because otherwise, you know, we're going to outcompete them when it comes to attracting talent. So compensation is one thing we're interested in. But again, like I said, we have 4 current or former teachers. And so that question of working environment and that question of stress and burnout is definitely something that we're very sensitive to. It's something, you know, we've all heard about from teachers and we've all experienced ourselves. So a few things I would say about that. Number one, I wasn't around for some of these decisions, but we brought in a new health insurance program. I believe that kicked off in July. There's a lot in that program that actually has to do with kind of wellness and mental health. So I know the program has resources for massages, for instance, acupuncture, chiropractic care. There are Mindful Mondays, Wellness Wednesday classes that are for free, that are offered through the employee plan. And I think some of the things we've heard earlier in the meeting as well, Director Hafley's comments on the way we're thinking about student behavior. We're interested in trying to find ways to make the work environment for teachers more rewarding and more constructive and positive for them and ultimately for our students as well. This is a problem we're definitely very interested in solving. I think I would also mention that this is a problem we're interested in collaborating with the community on solving. So this was one of the issues that we brought up with CSEA in negotiations, that we want to solve this question of staff shortages. And to anyone who's listening, teachers and staff alike, I would just urge you to keep the lines of communication open. We want to hear your suggestions. We want to hear your ideas. We want to hear, if you're a teacher, what you think would go towards making your classroom a place that was more positive for you and more academically successful. We want to hear and engage with those ideas. I think that's about everything I want to say.
Thank you. Director Bankus?
I guess I have a lot to say tonight. So to follow up with Director Carey, some of you in this room, but I'm not sure anyone in this room other than me, remembers an old TV show called Our Miss Brooks. And Eve Arden was the teacher on that program. And in those days, so this is in the 50s and the 60s, I listened to old-time radio. It's a great thing. There were public service announcements saying, we need more teachers. Think about 70 kids in a classroom. That's not what you want for your child. Think about going into education. Fast forward to where we are today, and I encourage you to talk well about your teachers and to talk well about what's going on in your schools and to restore, in my opinion, the respect that teachers have had when we are all in school. We heard about the disrespect that can go on because they think there's a disconnect between the classroom and what's expected at home, or there's a disconnect between what they read online as the current prank and what goes on in the classroom. I encourage you then to be a supporter of public education, of education in general, and to make sure that we give the respect, that we give the supports that are needed so that teaching is a noble and rewarding opportunity. Yes, money is nice. I came in, my first job in teaching, this is how old I am, my first job in teaching as an intern, $11,000 a year, and I was happy to do it. Give me a chalkboard, yes, a chalkboard and chalk, and I can teach. Those are the folks we want to encourage to enter the field, and those are the folks who are passionate about what they do, and oh yes, and pay them a living wage so they can live within the boundaries of District 11. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Question number 6 is about safety, and Director Ott will be taking the first lead on this. Do you believe that the board and the district should prioritize the safety of students getting to and from school? If so, what are you doing to address safety, specifically concerning traffic incidents and safe routes to school? How can we do better at tackling this issue as a community?
Thank you. First, student safety is a huge priority for District 11. It has to be, and that includes getting to and from school. And I know there are folks there's a whole program out there for safe routes to school, and I believe our district is paying attention to that. We are at a disadvantage in that it is partly a city issue, and so the city can decide some of these issues of where a school zone is, but we can certainly advocate for that and request a change. And the district worked together with the city, for example, at Doherty High School. Unfortunately, it took a student death to make that change. But that is one of the examples. Students themselves advocated for change. I believe at Steele Elementary, it's been many years, but they got a crosswalk there. Demanding elementary students, and that's excellent. So working together, we can do that, but it's also part of the greater community. We have to, as a community, pay attention to our school zones. Driving today through a school zone, I was slowing down to 20 miles per hour, and people were still passing me. So community, please slow down. Pay attention to those crosswalks, pay attention to the traffic signals, and Put your phones down, exactly. That's pretty significant. And watch for our children walking to school and realize that children are in cars too, getting to school. So you need to slow down. Safety at school, of course, is important too. I'm just going to note that. So getting to and from, yes. Also at school, District 11 has been making a number of upgrades in security. And sometimes we don't see those because the changes are happening over the summer, and then you might not notice them when you come back. And also just because we are a community, we hope that people will let us know if there are issues in school zones, but also with our schools. So let us know if you see other safety issues, graffiti, vandalism, things like that. It's important that we are watching out for our kids at every level.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to comment? Yeah, Director Hafley.
You were mentioning about community slow down. I would add community pay attention to the school buses with the big stop sign that comes out, because kids are sometimes getting off on one side of the street and then having to cross over, and people don't pay attention to those stop signs. So it'd probably be a good idea if people paid attention to the big yellow bus.
Director Malpacum, I know you've been close to a lot of the Doherty events, so I'd love to have you expand.
I'll just add a little bit. I think Director Art touched on that subject matter of about losing a Doherty student last year. There is nothing, I can assure you, in the work that we do as school board members. We talk about academic achievement, but the number one thing is ensuring our students return safely at home at the end of the day. That is our commitment to our parents. And when I received that phone call that day, that morning at 7 o'clock in the morning from Superintendent Gall, saying a student has been critically injured, and 10 minutes later, he said that the student has passed away. And then I find out that that is a student that I personally knew because she was on my daughter's swim team. And I had just talked to her 2 weeks back at the swim banquet, and she shared her hopes and dreams. Just a remarkable student. It seems like anything that you want in a student, an ideal student, she was there. Foreign exchange student who took advantage of every opportunity public education offered in District 11. She was there from 7 to 7 in the evening, it seems like, and all her hopes and dreams were just squashed in that one senseless moment, and then having to watch the mom and dad come here and having to look in their eyes. And even though we can sometimes put that away as this is a city problem, I still feel a sense of responsibility and obligation. How can you look at a parent's eyes and say, you sent your child here for education, and we are sending her back in a box to your country? It's unacceptable to me. It's unacceptable to any of our board members. So we take safety completely seriously. We will do everything possible to ensure the safety of our students, including working with our city elected leaders to make our roads and pathways safe for our students, and then are keeping our schools itself as safe as possible, because what you see happening across the country with violence in our school, some point in time it may end up touching one of our local schools, and we don't want that to happen. We will try to take every precaution. And students themselves, I urge you, you are the first line of defense. A lot of times you guys know what is happening with a fellow student, what's happening in their personal life. So if you know of anything that is happening in a fellow student's life, reach out through Safe to Tell and let us know about what is happening, because we want to provide this help and the resources that the student may need, whatever that may need.
Thank you. The next question is for Director Nelson, and it is on the topic of transportation. What are we doing to address transportation limitations in the district? What can we be doing to increase bus access so that our students can access more opportunities throughout the community?
Before I get to that, I'm going to just circle back on the safety question and just inform the community that last year, the board approved funding to increase safety in our schools through secure entryways. And so you'll begin to see some construction this summer at a number of our schools just to help foster that safety in our schools. So I wanted to add that in. Regarding the transportation in the district, I think I'm going to first cover what we've already done to help improve access throughout the community for field trips and what transportation we offer to students for attending schools. So last year, the board provided targeted pay raises for our bus drivers. That was an issue that across the nation we know is an issue where hiring people to drive buses is a challenge. And so the board took it as a priority that we would prioritize the raises for our bus drivers. We also have expanded our, we call it a portfolio strategy and offerings of how we serve children and families that if you have children that are zoned for a bus route, but maybe it's one student that lives over here, we utilize our contracting services, Hop, Skip, Drive, or Everdriven, and those contract services also provide for our McKinney-Vento students, so our homeless students, and ensuring they're still able to attend their home school. And then we also, the board approved funding for a fleet of activity vehicles. So these are smaller buses that hold anywhere from 14 to 16 passengers, and those should be arriving this summer and do not require the licensure that a school bus would require. So we have already done quite a bit to ensure that we're getting our students access to field trips and transportation to schools. Since I'm the treasurer, I just want to highlight that we are being very intentional in how we're budgeting our dollars and making sure we're getting them closest to the students, to the classrooms, and thinking about what our primary mission is of providing access to high quality education. And so partnering with parents to help get access to the opportunities that we provide. And we've heard a lot tonight about the many opportunities within our schools. And so we will continue to look at what makes the most sense. And especially given the challenges that we have as a district, that we had been declining enrollment for so long. Just this next budget year, we are going to be losing funding for 700 students because of the drop in enrollment that we saw 5 years ago. And so that's roughly a cut of around $8 million. Now, we're anticipating getting new funding to help cover some of that, but that just really makes us take a step back and think through what are our priorities. And, we want to provide access to, I'm assuming this question refers more specifically to field trips as it talks about opportunities throughout the community. And so just really thinking through how do we do so with our limited resources.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to add, or was that comprehensive? Good. Okay. All right. We're going to move on to a few additional questions. Those conclude the questions we received ahead of time, but our team prepared some other questions based on feedback that we've received from our community. So I'm going to jump around a little bit in the interest of time, and I'm going to start with a question on your vision and priorities. And this is a question for Director Malpacum. Where do you see the greatest opportunity in our district right now? What is your role in capitalizing on that opportunity to bring results to our students?
One thing that I would like to touch on, last year, District 11 celebrated 150 years in Colorado Springs. So we are as old as Colorado Springs is. It was our sesquicentennial celebration last year. That's a mouthful. we've been providing excellence in education for 150 years. That's what was General Palmer's wife, Mary Palmer, Queen Palmer. A school is named after her now. That was her bedrock vision at that time, excellence in education, and we've been providing that for 150 years. The negative side of being in this community for 150 years are some of our buildings are as old as that, some like 60, 70, 80, 100 years old. With that comes the opportunity. How do we go about ensuring these buildings are prepared for the state-of-the-art instruction, and the classroom is in a comfortable environment where our students can learn. Several of our schools, including Coronado, does not have heating and ventilation. So we, 2 years back, went to the community through a mill levy override measure to approve some facility renovations, and unfortunately our community, that measure was unsuccessful just by 11 votes, but our community clearly indicated that that's not a direction that they wanted to go in at that time. So we have been working within our funding that we have already through our mill levy funding that we have at this point in time to address this issue. So we've set aside right now as a board in conversations that about $120 million through a certificate of participations program, and you can find more about it in our work session. But essentially what it's going to be is using our current resources to renovate some of our schools. Significant amount of that money is tapped for renovating Palmer High School, and we will engage with the community over the next 2 or 3 months as that process evolves. What that is going to look like, it's still a process that is we are working on it at this time. And then the rest of the money is going to be directed towards hopefully some of the other smaller renovations throughout other school district. But investing a significant amount of Palmer High School and having a brand new Palmer High School, essentially, that is going to be the catalyst that is going to hopefully get our community support, and with the increased in student achievement to back it up, we can possibly in a 2 or 3 years time approach our community for future bonds that can potentially fund our school district. So there is certainly an opportunity out there to renovate our schools and make sure that you have the state-of-the-art classroom facilities and school facilities that you need. And just as a point of reference, even here at Coronado High School, Coronado Doherty High School got brand new track and field, and our student athletes can use that, and Mitchell is going to be getting one at the during the summer at the end of this academic year. And we've also invested in heating and ventilation in several of our schools. I think by the end of the summer, just about all of our elementary schools are going to be fully air conditioned. So we are investing a considerable amount of money in our facilities, and we look forward to engaging in our. That's a future opportunity that I certainly see available. Maybe others.
And Palmer is going to be updated as well. Maybe not the field, but there are plans for Palmer. So don't think that Palmer is being left behind, because it is not. Promise.
Thank you.
You are talking about the athletic field?
I was just talking in general.
Okay.
But I could see some concern on their faces that, what about Palmer? Well, what about Palmer indeed?
Well, we are investing $80 million, $70 to $80 million in the certificate of participation. That's money that we have set aside for Palmer. And part of that will be addressing the athletic facility too. We will come to Coronado at some point in time, because Coronado needs the heating and ventilation to go along with it.
Thank you. Our next question is about family engagement, and Directors Jorgensen and Nelson will speak to this one. From your perspective, how can parents and families be your collaborators and advocates in providing an excellent and equitable education to all students in the district?
I said, do you want me to start? Yeah, the policy AKB was one that the board brought on recently, which is basically just a parent partnership policy. Being a teacher in a district south of here, I had very little parent engagement. And, speaking to friends that taught in the district north of us, or even teachers in D11, it's funny to hear, they'd say, man, what I wouldn't do just to not have an inbox full of parent emails every night. And I said, well, you could teach down south and you don't have to worry about it. But with that comes, the fact that you don't have that advocate in that student's lives for a majority of your classrooms, and which is unfortunate. And so we just, as a board, we said, hey, we want parents to come alongside us in this journey. You're the ones that are giving your care of your child to us every day to educate them. It's not just the fact that we are getting them what they need as far as academic standards, but the board is so adamant in just communicating that you are entrusting us with your most precious gift. I've got 4 little kids and they're not in school yet, but I don't know what I would do if something happened to them out of school. And we do not take that lightly as a board. Our teachers don't take that lightly. Our admin don't take that lightly. And so policy AKB and just the family engagement piece is huge in saying, parents, we want you at the table. We want you at our meetings. I've talked with a number of higher level influence people recently, and one of them was, hey, what can parents do? And honestly, it was, you guys, you parents, we need you at the SAC. We need you at the school level. It's one thing to come to the board and say a 3-minute piece that gives us feedback, positive or negative. We don't mind. That's great. But if you really want to get to the local level where you can affect change one building, go to your neighborhood school. I'd like to see this. What are we doing here? How's the cafeteria staffed? What's our library look like? What's the cleanliness of the building look like? How can we pitch in and clean up the campus? That's where we can affect change. And so I'm probably off on a little bit of a rabbit trail here, but we value that input, and we want you to be engaged in your community schools, in your neighborhood schools, where you send your children. And if you don't have children in the district anymore, it's okay. We have a spot on every school accountability committee for community members. So you're welcome to come and say, I live right over across the street and I want to participate in this school and I want to help make it a great place for the school that's in my neighborhood. And that's a huge piece that we're looking at as far as family engagement and ways to get involved. And so I'll let Director Nelson pick it up from there.
Director Nelson.
I think you did a great job. I don't have a lot to add other than we recognize that parents are a child's first teacher and they know and love their children the best. And so we want them to be engaged and understand that they are responsible for the upbringing of their education and overall care in the choices that they're making for their child's education, where they're sending them to school and how they're getting them there, for example. Communication is a priority for the board. We last week just discussed the communications contract that we have extended to help foster more information going out to our families and our staff. And the superintendent and I have discussed how do we push information to parents rather than expecting them to pull it, rather than expecting parents to go into Power School and find out what their students' grades are. Could we, go back to paper report cards? I mean, just thinking about how do we ensure that parents know what's going on with their child's education. And I'll add that reach out to your teachers, to your school, find out how you can support them. I know my children's school, there are many moms who are in there every day helping support during lunchtime and going into the classrooms and helping those teachers. I would love to see that come back to a greater extent in District 11, of having our families, our parents in the schools. The board and the superintendent administration, as we look at next year's budgeting, we are prioritizing staffing our schools. We are not holding the schools to board policy when it comes to number of FTE or positions that will be at a school. We are overstaffing our schools, but that doesn't mean they don't need extra support at times from our families. So really encourage you to reach out and find out how you can support. And if you're not a parent, maybe you're a grandparent, or maybe you're just a neighbor that sees the kids walking by every day, and we would just love to have you involved and to get connected with our D11 Engage department that Jessica Weiss heads up.
Thanks for the shout out. So our last question tonight is perhaps the most relevant one of them all, especially as I look at all of these young faces in the room. And I think our superintendent always is reminding us the reason that we're all here is students. So to that end, student voice. And I would love for Directors Ott and Carrie to start on this, but then I would really like to hear from all of you on this topic. How, if at all, does the board plan to incorporate student voice more proactively into their work and their decisions, specifically regarding decisions on schools, policies, programs, and curriculum? So. Director Ott.
Okay, I'll go first. I have so much to say on this. I might not leave anything for you. So I think proactively is a key word there, and I'm going to say don't wait for us, first of all. But some things that have been happening. The last couple of years, we have had a handful of students go to the Colorado Association of School Boards conference, and unfortunately, that's just like one per high school. We had 5 or 6 students. So if you're really interested, you got to speak up and let your student council advisors know, or go straight to the superintendent. That's my advice. And another, my understanding is we had students at the National Character and Leadership Symposium at the Air Force Academy, but I can't speak to that because I really don't know that much about it. We have a student now on the District Accountability Committee, thanks to that committee being interested in that change. And we've also been informed that the superintendent's student sounding board will be sharing additional recommendations with the Board of Education before the end of the school year for areas of opportunities they see that we can increase participation and their voice in policies and programs at the district and within their schools. That said, again, proactive, we want to hear from you, but we don't know what's convenient for you all of the time. So I made some additional notes. For my part, I would encourage you to invite us to your student council or other clubs as appropriate. President Malpacum and I both went to the Palmer High School Student Council, thanks for the invitation, to address concerns about Palmer High School renovations. So that can be part of what it takes. Just an invitation. I'm going to bet, that every board member up here would take you up on an invitation if you make that invitation to us. I have been to various high schools' student council meetings by going to the advisor and saying, can you get me in? Can we have a conversation? But they don't typically come to us. So again, be proactive. In addition to the District Accountability Committee, you could attend the school accountability committees. Everything that Directors Jorgensen and Nelson said about family engagement, it just don't leave it up to your parents. Come on down. Come to the school accountability committee meetings. Come to our board meetings. We did proactively change up student comment. So students go first now for 10 or 15 minutes. So that they can be sure to be heard at our board meetings. So that's an opportunity. Feel free to email us always. You can show up and advocate just like Palmer High School students did about snow days. And previously I mentioned the students who advocated for a crosswalk. Also, they have asked for changes such as lunch trays. So you have a voice, and I want you to use it. Let's see, I mentioned emailing us, and also just pay attention to district announcements. Once or twice a year, we're looking at curriculum. You students can give us feedback. There's going to be a design lab opportunity. Look that up on the district website. Be responsive to that. And thank you all for coming to the town halls. Those are opportunities, and I bet we're all going to stick around here afterwards for a few minutes at least, and come on up and tell us your concerns. Again, also be proactive. Don't wait for us to come to you. Come to us and advocate. Did I leave you anything,
Director Carey?
Yeah, I'll just mention real briefly. I'm a teacher myself currently at the college level. Every quarter I get end of course surveys from my students, letting me know the things that I'm doing in the classroom that aren't working and that I need to improve, letting me know the things that I'm doing that are working that I need to keep doing. And it makes sense to me. What the board is doing is trying to craft a great educational experience for students. And if I'm listening to student feedback in my own job, it makes sense to me that as a school board and as a district, we should be listening to student feedback at this level as well.
Please.
Okay, so what I would tell my kids in my classroom is, tell me what you think, not necessarily what you think I want to hear. Tell me what you think. And they would stop and somebody's asking me to actually think and have an opinion about something. Nobody's actually taken that seriously with me before. So what kids have to say is important. Kids are important. It's why we're all here, to help you guys succeed as you go out into your lives. So I've said this before, I'm going to say it again, and I'll probably say it until I'm blue in the face. Don't let anybody tell you you're too young to have an opinion about something. You may not have a ton of life experience yet at your young ages, but your point of view is valid and it is valued as well. You guys will teach us just as much as we're going to teach you. So it's a relationship. Okay, it's not just things coming to you from on high, from adults. We need to hear from you guys as well.
Thank you. Director Malpacum?
I'll piggyback on what Director Art said. When I visited the Palmer Student Council and had that engagement with your student council, I was so impressed with the dialogue that happened there. Sometimes we live in a politically charged environment at this time. Adults are so entrenched in their positions. What impressed me about that Palmer Student Council was they were willing to look at multiple perspectives and come to creative feedback and solutions. So you guys really impressed me. So continue to invite us. And just for the board, I cannot go to Dorothy Student Council because my daughter has prohibited me. She's on Student Council. She said that I cannot come and visit Dorothy Student Council, so somebody else has to go and visit Dorothy Student Council. Take pride, guys. As students, you guys are there in the buildings all the day. Take pride in the schools. Sometimes we hear about vandalism in schools or bathrooms being destroyed or vandalized. I constantly get email as a parent that this bathroom is getting vandalized. This school belongs to you. Every school belongs to you as students, so take pride in your schools. And when you see somebody acting inappropriately, destroying something, please report to an adult authority in the school so they can take appropriate actions. So take pride in your schools, and you guys are amazing, and we are all in it for you students and to elevate you and to make sure that you guys have success once you graduate out of high school too.
Thank you. Director Benkes, any extra thoughts?
My input from students has come from casually meeting folks during their lunch period or passing periods. But I love the idea of being invited to student council meetings. I love the idea of being invited to after-school clubs. I think it gives us a taste and a flavor of what you're thinking, how you're thinking, and the activities in which you are engaged and find interest in. So I'm looking forward to my emails coming in letting me know when you are going to have those meetings.
Director Nelson?
On student
voice.
feedback directly or just anything?
Let's student voice.
Okay. Yeah, I think about the role of the school board. We're here to govern the district, and we do that through policy, through budget. The superintendent is our one employee, and we oversee and approve curriculum. So I just would ask the students in the community take that into consideration, that if you have any thoughts or feedback on any of those topics, we would love to hear about it. Want to hear about the other things too, but we got to stay in our lane. So budget, curriculum, the superintendent, our one employee, and policy is where we live. So definitely, if you have feedback, give it to us.
Thank you. And last but not least, Director Jorgensen.
I knew you'd call on me. I think, we talked about students engaging with the board, but, we talked about behavior and other issues. And, when the board is out at schools, we are talking to staff, we're talking to ESPs, we're talking to the admin. And so I think, just adding that, students, we want you engaged at your building with your teachers and instruction. Help with, focusing the learning environment, help with making that authentic and enjoyable and sincere. Put your phones away. Start talking to each other face to face. Start having conversations, even if that person's somebody that you don't agree with or, you have something going on. But enjoy the time that you have as a student at no matter what grade level you are. And, like I mentioned earlier, it's one thing to come and talk to the board. It's another thing to engage with your peers and your educator that is there, that loves you and cares for you and wants to help you. Engage there. Put your phones away. Do not disturb, whatever it is, and engage in the learning that you're given through these excellent teachers that we have for you.
Thank you. In the last 3 minutes, President Melpacum, I'm curious if you have any closing thoughts. Yes, 3 minutes.
Well, I will keep it just a minute or so, and other board members can add into if they want to. You saw today in the discussions that happened a lot of the opportunities that are available for our students. I'll end with what I started at the very beginning. This board's priorities are student success, staff investment, and parent and community engagement. And we'll continue to invest our money and our resources closest to students in our classrooms to ensure those board priorities are being accomplished. D11 is on the rise. Okay, I want you guys to understand that 2 or 3 years back when we were talking about closing programs, shutting down schools, we are not having any of that conversation now. We are talking about investing money in our schools. We are talking about increased academic achievement. We cut down our priority improvement and turnaround schools by 50%. From 15, we went down to 7, and we hope to cut that down even further after this round of state testing. We are going to invest in schools going forth as far as facility improvement goes. So overall, D11 is on the rise, and we cannot do this in isolation. We need the help of all of you guys leaning in and supporting us in this journey. And our intent is to shape District 11 into a premier school district for excellence in education in Colorado Springs, and we are not going to be stopped in that pursuit.
Thank you. I want to say thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you to everyone online. Thank you to everyone for submitting your questions. You know where to find them if you have questions still to be answered. And for those of you who are here, we're going to spend the last 30 minutes just in a very casual meet and greet with the board. So if you have any lingering or pressing follow-ups, they're not running away just yet. But thank you all for this evening, and we look forward to more.